Welcome to Trash Talk, a podcast by Zero Waste Canada. I'm your host, Alastair MacCallum. I moved to Canada in 2017 from England, and I've since held a variety of roles in the waste industry, and currently sit on the Zero Waste Canada board. On this podcast, we will dive deep into the world of zero waste and the circular economy, speaking with change makers who will helping to lead us to a more waste-free, sustainable planet. Okay, Trash Talk is back for the first time this year. Hope you all have a great 2026. Last year was a great one for the podcast. I'm excited to bring more content this year, starting off with myself. So there's going to be 3 parts to this episode. I'm going to speak about my journey in waste, some trends that I'm seeing in real estate, and I'll finish off with some strategies that can hopefully help others listening as to how to implement effective reduction strategies and achieve impact in your waste roles. So let's rewind 2017 when I first moved to Canada, to Vancouver from England. The reasoning behind this, there's many, but I essentially did summer camp in the US for 2 summers in 2013 and 14. Loved my time out there. Wanted to go back to the States, but getting in was pretty difficult. The pathway wasn't super clear. So someone mentioned Canada to me in terms of the working visa. From the UK, we can get 2-year visas fairly easily. There is a kind of pool system to go through. So there was some luck on my side in terms of timing and making it through the kind of pool system. You get kind of pulled out and then you go through the criteria and the checklists to apply, and then once you do all that, you get given this 2-year working visa, and then there's freedom in terms of where you want to go and do. So yeah, that all worked out. I got the visa. I wanted to go to Vancouver just based on the lifestyle. I Googled it and it looked beautiful, and I like being outdoors. And yeah, things just kind of fell into place. So I moved out there in April 2017 and didn't really know kind of where to start. But my passion for the environment kind of led me to look for roles in that kind of sector. So I looked on Craigslist for jobs, and I saw one that involved waste, and yeah, things kind of started from there, let's say. So the role was with Dylan Consulting, and it involved going around different communities, looking inside people's bins and seeing, what was in there, what shouldn't be in there, and, leaving stickers on bins highlighting, hey, like, this is a recycling bin, these items shouldn't be in there. Here's, some education information on how to, recycle properly. It was a good way to understand regulations in Canada. I was working in different cities and even neighboring cities with different regulations. So it was a good kind of starting point for me to understand, what's happening locally on the grounds. And yeah, I got my steps in as well. So it was a good kind of way to enter the workforce and build some experience, being on that 2-year visa. There's a time limit on it. So I think kind of getting a role that allowed me to build my experience, make some connections, that was really important for that period of time. And that role was also a contract role, so it wasn't full-time. I think it was around 6 months I was there. So once that contract finished, I was looking for my next role. And then I saw a posting for Recycle Smart based in Richmond in BC. So fun fact on this role was that I wasn't the first choice for it. So I didn't get the job initially. Someone else was offered the job. It didn't work out, and then it went back to me. So I was happy it came back to myself. I was excited by the opportunity. Operations coordinator role is what it was. You're getting a full-time job in itself was a big moment for me based on, again, my kind of 2-year time frame at this point in Canada. Yeah, the company itself was doing great things. So the leadership there were very invested in, changing outdated waste system, putting tech in place and making sure, the clients had the best service possible, be it, with diversion rate increases, managing, all aspects of waste programs. It was hugely eye-opening for myself to see, what the company was doing and the impact it was having on the industry. And my main takeaways from my first year there was how much opportunity there is for new tech, and how outdated the systems we're working with are. After a year, I moved into an account management role at the same company, and this again went to a different level. So rather than being focused on day-to-day pickups and so on, it was more long-term vision. How do I take my accounts and make them better? So yeah, I enjoyed my time at the company very much so. There was a lot of steep learning curves. The company itself was growing very, very quickly. Lots of new faces, new staff coming in, but my time there was hugely beneficial to myself in terms of igniting a passion in terms of waste systems. I love the tech aspect of it and continue taking it into my day-to-day work now. So moving to 2021 now. So at this time, opportunity was there to join a hauler locally, and I did with Growing City, and it was again excited to join a company that was doing great things on the waste front, providing great service, working with different clients locally, making sure their needs were met, looking at diversion opportunities, how to recycle different items, ensuring clients doing the right things, meeting regulations and so on. So that was a great time to learn about logistics for waste. So I kind of seen on the ground, walking around different communities in my first role, then to kind of a more national outlook, large clients, strategy focus, and then now it was on the ground again, working internally, making sure drivers meeting demands, have their routes optimized. All those things kind of helped me get that full picture of waste and what's going on behind the scenes, and how to work with different size clients and so on. So I think all roads led to my next role at Quadreal. So all my experience of on the ground, working with large accounts, and understanding the kind of behind the scenes of hauler operations set me up for success in this role. And it came at a time for me that was very difficult, having lost my father just before. That this role was pretty much life-changing for me, I would say. Being on a team with such strong leadership and being at the forefront of innovation in the industry was huge. So I learned so much in my 2.5 years there. So lots of focus on contract management and using tech to drive innovation forward. Lots of freedom given to myself to look at data coming in, improve accuracy of it, and use it to set targets for buildings. And then building teams themselves very open to new ideas, which was fantastic. So lots of free reign for myself to take the waste program and run with it. And thoroughly enjoyed my time. Learned so much, and I loved that role so much. I wanted to kind of stay in the industry, and then I am at JLL doing very similar things, and the kind of templates and frameworks that I used in my time at Quadreal have really helped me in my future roles. So that sets the scene of my background in waste. So let's move now to trends that I'm seeing in real estate. The first one being data collection and reliability of that data. Listeners will know that I keep saying waste data is not the best, and there's a reason for that. Most of it's estimates. So if you have a front load bin, for example, the weight of that is estimated based on its size, material, and pickup frequency. So those three things combined give you the weight to report out on, but there's no, metering system in place for the most part for these services. So if you have multiple front load bins, totes, for example, that aren't being weighed when they're picked up, then that data isn't accurate. It's best guess, essentially. So what I'm seeing right now is a huge push to get data collected more efficiently and, where possible, more accurately. So two kind of big facets there on data that companies want to improve their reporting. They want to certify, for true certification and so on. And to get diversion levels to the point required for that, there has to be more reporting out on numbers. Another part of this too is capturing more data. So what I'm seeing too is diversion rates have multiple aspects to them. So traditional waste streams, you have trash, recycling, compost, organics. Beyond that, there's much more to capture as diversion rates to apply, right? So if you have services that aren't as frequent or ad hoc, things like e-waste, things like shredding, all those elements can be combined to calculate diversion rates more holistically. So that kind of data piece and bringing it all together, again, is a huge push that I'm seeing day to day, and making sure the numbers make sense, they're verifiable, and all data points are being collected to be more accurate in reporting. The next trend isn't really new, but I'm seeing it more and more in terms of CapEx and its cost savings. So waste has a lot of potential. There's lots of money in waste. And I think companies are kind of waking up to the fact that they can be better with the operations. Even simple things like ensuring bins aren't serviced too much. They can result in huge cost savings if you have multiple bins across different locations, for example. And I think roles like the one I have that eye for waste. I can kind of quickly see low-hanging fruit of, here's how you can save money by making these kind of small tweaks, and then bigger picture, what can we do on site, over the next 3, 5, 10 years with that CapEx investment that can then deliver, huge cost savings down the line. And I think there's more of a trend towards the CapEx side of things now than those small operational tweaks that were, bringing benefits in. But now there's a future vision on waste more and more, where I can go into a meeting with high-level execs and I can say, hey, here's where we are now. Here's the high CapEx spend on this project, on this equipment piece, let's say. Here's where you'll be in 3-5 years time based on this spend. Here's the ROI. And I'm getting good buy-in from that. There's a future vision there. There's understanding that having this higher spend right now is better for the future, can deliver these savings down the line. And people around the table are open to these ideas more and more. The third and final trend I'll discuss in this part is active procurement. So a quick story to kick things off here. I love reuse. The podcast is full of reuse episodes. Huge fan of them, obviously. So in my newest role, I thought reuse would be a good idea at some campus buildings. I learned that our procurement team already had looked into this. So it made my day. I wasn't the one bringing this idea forward for a change. But it goes to show that the procurement team, understood already that what we bring onto sites, we're paying to remove it through waste services, essentially. So if we can reduce the items being brought onto site as single use, we spend less to remove them. So made my day when I learned about that initiative being in place already. I'm hearing similar stories too across different accounts in JLL of understanding that if we bring less to site, our waste spend would reduce if we can keep them in that closed environment. If we can reuse items more and more, then our waste disposal costs will naturally decrease as a result of that. I want to mention contracts as part of the procurement discussion as well. So there's definitely been a big shift towards bigger haulers and brokers in the waste service market. So less one-off contracts for single locations and so on, and a bigger push to have everything managed by one vendor, one party. That makes my life easy in my role, having one point of contact across the board. There's great waste data portals being utilized now as well. So I mentioned before, access to data and verifying it. That's easier with these bigger vendors, I find. And, collaborating with them on projects is much easier when they know what's going on across different locations. These bigger projects that I'm involved in, more frictionless. To close things off here, let's talk strategy. When I look at waste strategy over the long term, I think of 6 segments. Those segments are procurement, engagement, data, reduction, tech, and certification. And these segments aren't standalone, they're all linked. When I visualize them, I kind of put them in overlapping circles to show that the themes cross over between them. With procurement, my first step is always look at the contracts. So is there a way to move to one vendor? Are there one-off contracts where the rates aren't as good? And are there cost savings available by doing an RFP and seeing what's in the market? And for RFPs, I recommend every 3 to 5 years is a good kind of time frame. And not just for waste pickup services either. You could look at vendors who are bringing single-use items onto site. Are there options to be more reusable? Are there donation systems in place you can use as well and tap into? So a more holistic viewpoint on contracts and vendors you're working with. How can you improve the procedures? How can you cut costs and reduce items being brought to site, then being taken away from site through waste services? Moving now to engagement. This is key to any successful program. You must get buy-in from both site teams and leadership in order to reach tangible results. So prior to any changes in day-to-day operations or long-term projects, it's important to communicate to teams, tell them what's happening currently, what's changing, and what their roles are. I like to get 1 or 2 champions, on site to lead things on the ground, and also try to make waste fun. So if there's different buildings you're involved with, can they compete on diversion rates? Who has the highest change? Who's reducing the most waste to landfill? All those things can be brought together to make it a more, fun engagement item and involve people from different business lines, operations to execs and so on. And it makes everyone get involved better, I find. The third segment here is data. The key items are to get all data you possibly can. So work with your vendors, haulers, anyone who's operating with your waste program that can track weight of materials, get data from them. Even if data seems small, if you can verify it through hauler reporting, then track it. It all adds up. I think it's important to visualize data as well. So tracking year on year, seeing improvements and forecasting diversion rate improvements based on projects. So if you are working with a broker, for example, or a hauler who have a good dashboard, try and utilize that to create visuals like bar graphs, charts, and so on. And try and, again, tell stories to engage leadership. Here's where we're at currently. Here's how doing X, Y, Z can help diversion rates. And here's how increasing diversion, lowering waste to landfill can improve costs. Reduction is the next segment. So what practical ways can be implemented to reduce waste to landfill on site? A proven option here is manual waste sorting. If there's space on site to have trained staff at sorting stations, this is a great way to reduce the amount going into landfill, making sure streams aren't contaminated by the wrong items going in the wrong bins and so on. And oftentimes here, the cost of having these trained staff at sorting stations can be paid for through the savings in disposal rates. Another key long-term play here for sites with high compost or organics output is to have on-site composting in place. These units can reduce the organics content by 80%. And again, you're reducing the amount you're taking off-site, so you have savings in disposal cost and service cost. My favorite segment here is tech. So there's 2 options here I'll discuss, and depending on what you have on site for bins, the first one is front load sensors. These can help generate fill levels. So I mentioned before that data is built from how big your bin is, its material type, and its frequency of service. If you get fill level readings, you can more accurately generate weights. And also you can look at how full your bins are when they're being picked up. If they're too high a frequency, you can cut back and find some savings. If you have compactors, you can also monitor them as well. So these monitors typically generate readings from energy output and measure how full the compactor is. If you want to set schedule right now, then you could go to on call, and these monitors can request pickup when the compactor is nearing fullness. So rather than hauling empty space, you're hauling more efficiently. The final segment here is certification. All these prior steps should lead you to higher diversion rates, lower cost, and improved data. A great next step here, I think, is third-party verification and public recognition. This could mean pursuing true certification if you meet the requirements. All Zeros Canada has its own certification program as well. These bodies aren't a one-off certification. They require annual data submissions and continuous improvement to maintain standards. Also helps capacity building too, so ongoing training for site teams, behavioral change, and cultural shifts within companies as well. And that concludes the podcast. Thank you all for listening. For any questions on the themes discussed, please feel free to reach out.